Well, welcome again. In the first part, we covered the introduction about post-harvest management of horticultural crops. The second part was about basic principles of post-harvest handling. In the third part, we started discussing about major causes of post-harvest losses. We covered the primary causes and started discussing about biological causes of post-harvest losses. Let us start from where we stopped last time on ethylene production. Here are the measures to reduce ethylene effects, the undesirable effects of ethylene. The first measure is eliminating the source of ethylene. For instance, we do not need to hold stocks of ripened fruit near ethylene sensitive commodities. We have to use electric powered forklifts. The truck loading area should be isolated from handling and storage areas. We need to remove decayed pellets of fruit, and we should not smoke or burn fires in the packing house area. The second measure is ventilation. As we have discussed in the earlier sessions, harvested produce synthesizes ethylene. Therefore, simple ventilation by using an intake fan and a passive exhaust can effectively remove excess ethylene. The third measure is the use of ethylene absorbers. Ethylene may be absorbed from storage rooms by using chemical scavengers such as potassium permanganate and charcoal. The fourth measure is inhibition of ethylene action through the use of 1-methylcyclopropane, 1-MCP. 1-MCP is a very effective inhibitor of ethylene. It is licensed for use in fruits and vegetables, as ethyl block for use with ornamentals, and as a smart fresh for use with fruits and vegetables. This slide shows the mechanism of ethylene action inhibitor 1-MCP. As you can see in the pictogram, ethylene action is inhibited when 1-MCP binds to ethylene receptor, as you can see it in here. So, to inhibit ethylene action, the inhibitor 1-MCP binds to the ethylene receptor and hinders ethylene from binding to ethylene receptor. 1-MCP binds to the ethylene receptor faster than ethylene due to 10 times higher affinity of 1-MCP to ethylene receptor as compared to ethylene. In this slide, you can see the commercialization of 1-MCP in retarding ripening process. As you can see here, the commercialization of 1-MCP starts from powder type to the easy-to-use capsule type. In our laboratory, we have verified effectiveness of 1-MCP in prolonging storability and maintaining quality and antioxidant properties of cherry tomatoes. We also studied effect of 1-MCP on persimmon fruit quality and the reduced expression of ethylene response genes. And the studies were actually published in reputable journals, as you can see it in here. The fourth biological cause of post-harvest losses is the third biological cause of post-harvest loss is compositional change. It causes changes in pigments and changes in metabolites, which will lead to ripening and senescence, which in turn lead to loss of edibility and the post-harvest loss. This heat map shows the changes in metabolites such as sugars, organic acids, amino acids, fatty acids, secondary metabolites, and the antioxidant activities of green and gold kiwi fruit cultivars during storage for 4 months. During storage, there was ripening and there was a change in composition of kiwi fruit cultivars. This shows as fruit ripens, there is a compositional change which leads to post-harvest losses. Okay. The fourth biological cause of post-harvest losses is water loss. Water loss is a main cause of deterioration because it results in direct loss of sellable weight. Loss in appearance such as wilting and shriveling, loss of textural quality including softness and crispiness. Here are the main causes of quality in the post-harvest losses in leafy vegetables and fruits. Leafy vegetables are mainly lost due to water loss, okay, mechanical damage, senescence, loss of chlorophyll, and other nutrients, respiration, microbial growth, and sensitivity to ethylene. While main causes of fruit loss are mechanical damage, maturity, either immature, mature, poor ripening, softening, or texture loss, and water loss, chilling injury, microbial growth, actually, as you know, small fruits have large surface to volume ratios and especially suffer from water loss. These are the ways to reduce water loss after harvest. The first one is low temperatures, then high relative humidity, then preventing surface injuries, application of waxes or other coatings, edible coatings, wrapping uh, with plastic films. Generally, more than 5% of weight loss result in shriveling and a loss of salability. And 3 to 5% affect visual quality, and less than 3% do not affect the texture and visual quality. Weight loss is a factor of product characteristics and vapor pressure deficit. Okay? Product characteristics and vapor pressure deficit. Vapor pressure deficit is directly related to temperature. The lower the temperature, the lesser will be water loss. Low vapor pressure deficit indicates a small difference between the vapor pressure of the air and of the product. That means the air is humid and the product tends to lose water very slowly. On the other hand, a high vapor pressure deficit indicates that there is a greater difference between the vapor pressure of the air and of the product. That means the air is drier and the product tends to lose water more quickly. There is one important thing that we have to keep in mind. The relative humidity is a poor indicator of the drying power of air. For instance, air with 60% relative humidity at 35 degrees centigrade would feel much drier than air with the same relative humidity but at colder temperatures such as 18 degrees Celsius. This graph and the table indicate the relationship between temperature, vapor pressure, and relative humidity. Temperature, relative humidity, and water vapor pressure. Let us see some practical examples using the above table. Two neighboring farmers harvested their crops of spinach, and farmer A harvested his crop and took it to the market early in the morning when the temperature was 10 degrees Celsius and the relative humidity was 90%. Farmer B harvested his crop at midday when the temperature was 21 degrees Celsius and the relative humidity was 70%. The question is, whose produce will wilt quickest? Let us see the calculation. As you can see, here are some conversion factors. 1 millibar is equal to 0.74 milliliter of mercury, and 1 millimeter of mercury is equal to 1.35 millibar. Okay. So vapor pressure deficit at 10 degrees Celsius and 90% relative humidity is, okay, 10 degrees Celsius, 90% relative humidity, it is 8.29, right? 8.29 millimeter of mercury, which is equal to 6.1 millibar. And the vapor pressure deficit at 21 degrees Celsius and 70% relative humidity, 2170, okay? At 21 degrees Celsius, 70% relative humidity, it was 13.13, right? So it is like 13.13 millimeter of mercury. The rate of water loss is directly proportional to water vapor pressure deficit. Therefore, water loss at 21 degrees Celsius and 70% relative humidity is 1.6 times as fast as that of 10 degrees Celsius and 90% relative humidity. To obtain this, you just divide 13.13 divided by 8.29, okay? Or 9.7 divided by 6.1. And it becomes like 1.6 times as fast as that of 10 degrees Celsius and 90% relative humidity. Okay. The rate of water loss is directly proportional to water vapor pressure deficit, sorry. The data in the table can be used to estimate the time taken for crops to wilt or unacceptability in this condition. You see, spinach is unacceptable if it loses 3% of its initial weight. Okay, if it loses 3% of its initial weight, maximum water loss acceptable. Okay, and for potato 7 to 10, I think we can make it like 8%. Okay, average. So the rate of water loss from spinach is 0.375% per hour per millibar of water vapor pressure deficit, which is equal to 9% per day. Okay, 9% per day. This is just multiplying by 24 hours. Okay, 9% per day. So farmer A spinach would be acceptable after 79 minutes. You just divide 3% by its rate, okay, per hour, and times vapor pressure deficit at 10 degree 90%. So it requires like it needs 79 minutes. Farmer B's spinach would be unacceptable after 50 minutes. Okay, we can check it practically like this. Let us add another practical example. How long potatoes could be kept under the condition described in example 1 before they wilted unacceptably? Potatoes lose water at 0.001% per hour per water per pressure deficit, right? And they can lose 8% of their weight. We said 7 to 10, so we just use 8% average of their weight by water loss before becoming unacceptable. So under 6.1 millibar of water vapor pressure deficit, potatoes would be acceptable after, as you can see, after 55 days. And under 9.7 millibar water vapor pressure deficit, potatoes would be unacceptable after 34 days. One thing that we have to keep in mind is that if potatoes are kept under such condition, temperature and relative humidity for these lengths of time with the exposure to light, they would probably have first become unacceptable because of greening or and sprouting. Okay. Let us see the third practical example. A vegetable crop is harvested at a temperature of 21.1 degrees Celsius and is cooled to a temperature of 2.2 degrees Celsius using saturated air, means 100% relative humidity. Okay? Having been cooled, the produce is stored at 2.2 degrees Celsius with a relative humidity of 50%. Okay? The question is, will the crop lose water during cooling? Let us see if the crop will lose during cooling. If so, what are the relative rates of water loss during cooling and the storage? To see the water lost during cooling and during storage, it can be arranged like this. Okay, vegetable temperature at harvest was 21.1 degrees centigrade, relative humidity 100%. Okay, water vapor pressure at 21.1 and 100% is 18.76. It is from this table. Okay, it is from this table. 21.1, 100, it is 18.76. Okay, so after cooling, the temperature was 2.2, relative humidity was 100, then the water vapor pressure was 5.37. During cooling, water vapor pressure deficit was 18.76 minus 5.37. That is like 30.39 millimeter of mercury. And during storage, so temperature of cooling was of the vegetable was 2.2, relative humidity here, and the cooling air then 2.2, then relative humidity was kept at 50%. Okay, so the water vapor pressure was 2.68. So during storage, water vapor pressure deficit was 5.37 minus 2.68. It is 2.69 millimeter of mercury. Therefore, despite the fact that the vegetable is cooled with saturated air, water loss will occur during cooling. The rate of water loss during cooling is 13.39 over 2.69. Okay, 5 times as fast as the rate of during storage. See, this emphasizes the significance of rapid cooling in storage or pre-cooling in before storage, the time during which large differences occur between product temperature and air temperature must be minimized. Okay, this is the basic thing. The other biological causes of post-harvest losses are physical and physiological disorders. Physical damage include surface injury, bruising, and vibration injuries. Okay, and the damaged areas become brown due to the leakage of phenolic compounds, and it accelerates water loss, stimulate ethylene production, and provide sites for pathogen invasion. The other contributor to deterioration is physiological disorder. This physiological disorder. Disorders resulting from the abnormal condition during production and marketing, abnormal temperatures, extended storage, abnormally modified atmospheres, and nutritional imbalances are causes of the physiological disorder. Many of these defects are caused by pre-harvest conditions, and they could be eliminated at the packhouse during sorting and grading. A water-soaked spot at the blossom end of tomato fruit is the classic symptom of blossom end rot. Okay? This relatively common garden problem is not a disease, but rather a physiological disorder caused by calcium imbalance within the plant. It can occur in pepper, squash, cucumber, and melon fruits, as well as tomatoes, of course. Other biological causes of post-harvest losses include microbial damage and developmental disorders, such as greening and sprouting. Microbial pathological damage and sprouting. This picture shows the pathological damage to strawberries, this one, by different microbial species. In addition to post-harvest losses, the pathological damage raises microbial food safety issues. So, prevention of contamination is mandatory in fresh fruits and vegetables throughout the chain by sanitation and hygiene. It needs to separate the infected from clean, it needs washing and drying, and it needs temperature control. Well, lack of market demand or production and market mismatch is also another important cause of post-harvest losses. The market information of the previous year or years could drive many farmers to produce a specific crop. On the contrary, the consumption may not grow exponentially with the production. This situation could end up with surpluses that may not even cover production costs. So it needs to be considered before starting production. Okay. This slide summarizes the environmental causes of post-harvest losses. The first one from the environmental causes is temperature management. Temperature affects all causes of deterioration. When the temperatures are above optimum, the rate of deterioration increases and it leads to physiological disorders. Similarly, low temperatures reduce respiration and it may cause freezing and chilling injury. The second one is relative humidity and vapor pressure deficit. As we have covered under the water loss in the previous session, the rate of water loss from the commodity depends on the relative humidity in the surrounding air. Relative humidity is also dependent on the temperature, as warm air can hold more moisture than cold air. The third is the atmospheric composition. Air has 21% oxygen, 78% nitrogen, and about 0.03% carbon dioxide. In respiration, glucose plus oxygen releases CO2, water, and heat in the form of ATP. Energy in the form of ATP and release heat. Okay, if the O2 level is decreased and the carbon dioxide level is increased in the atmospheric composition in the storage, respiration will decrease. However, abnormally modified atmospheres and the too long storage in controlled atmospheric storage could cause disorders. We will cover this part in the next session. The other is light and ethylene. Light leads to chlorophyll formation, and ethylene leads to aging, of course. For instance, potatoes which are exposed to light turns green and they become unmarketable. This slide categorizes chilling injury sensitive and insensitive crops. As you can see it in here, sensitive crops such as banana, mango, papaya, pineapple, cucumber, eggplant, and plum are sensitive to chilling injury below 10 degrees Celsius. On the other hand, the optimum ripening temperature ranges from 20 to 25 degrees Celsius. Low temperature storage is best and effective to delay ripening, extend shelf life, maintain quality, and reduce spoilage. The recommended storage temperature for temperate crops could be near zero, and 6 to 8 degrees Celsius for subtropical crops, and above 13 degrees Celsius for tropical crops. Here are examples of the effect of storage temperature on quality and storability of strawberries and broccoli. Based on their sensitivity to chilling injury, fresh products can be categorized into chilling sensitive and non-chilling sensitive. Chilling sensitivity occurs at a temperature above the freezing point of the product. Chilling injury symptoms include surface pitting, water soaking, browning, necrosis, rots, poor flavor, and poor ripening. Non-chilling sensitive products like strawberries could be best stored as close to 0 degrees Celsius, while most chilling sensitive products can be stored at temperature ranging from 10 to 12 degrees centigrade. So these are also some low temperature disorders in pepper, banana, and tomato, and the greening of potatoes due to their exposure to light. This table summarizes principal causes of post-harvest loss and the poor quality in different groups of vegetables and fruits, and the crop category is also in here, and the principal causes are also summarized in here.